to Hang Out with Coach Kerry. My name is Kerry Brown. And are you an entrepreneur, a small business owner that asks yourself sometimes, why do you automatically click with someone when you're meeting them face to face or maybe on the phone, and then sometimes it just doesn't seem to work? Do you often wonder why, you ask someone a question, maybe a potential client or even a current client or customer, and the answer you get back doesn't actually make any sense? Well, that all has to do with our topic today. So stay tuned for this interview that I have with a good friend and expert in this arena. My guest today is none other than Michael Losier. Michael was interviewed on Oprah's radio show not just once, not twice, but 4 times. And she liked the material so much that she recommended that Michael host his own show, which he did on Oprah's radio show for 1 whole year. He is an expert in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and an expert in the law of attraction. So he's the perfect person for me to have today on this episode to help you figure out how to get and stay in rapport with those people that are so important to you. Of course, we're going to be talking about this in the context of business, but really this all applies to any aspect of your life. So please help me welcome my good friend who hails locally here from Victoria, British Columbia, as well as I do, Mr. Michael Losier. Michael, welcome.
Hey, good morning, Kerry, and good morning all the Hang Out with Kerry people watching today. You're going to be in for a nice little treat today because Kerry and I are going to be explaining some things today that you're finally going to get it. It's like, oh, okay, that's why that's been happening. So I'm glad to be here today, Kerry, on your show. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. I'm honored to have you on, and I know that what we're going to share with my audience today is going to make a huge difference for them if they apply even just a small portion of it.
Thank you.
So Michael, maybe just to start out, we know all about the success of your book, The Law of Attraction, and that's the one that is out there so much. But you have a couple of other books, and specifically the one that I think relates to today's topic is your one called The Law of Connection. So how did that get started? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, great. Well, first I'm going to tell you a little bit about my book, Law of Attraction. I self-published it, and it was before anybody knew about the secret about Law of Attraction. That was in 2003. I sold 250,000 copies on my own from doing seminars and teleclasses. And then when The Secret came out 3 years later, my book got worldwide attention, and then it got published in 34 languages, and it sold 1.8 million copies. So my name went up on the publisher's radar. It's like, who's this guy that sold 1.8 million books? Well, so as they studied people's feedback and went on Amazon, what they learned was people really liked the style that I wrote. They loved my how-to style. I would give graphics and diagrams and check-off lists and blank worksheets, and I was really engaging. It's sometimes you pick up a book and there's not a picture in it. Well, mine's got pictures and graphics. So people are always commenting, oh, this really matches my style. This really matches my style. So they approached me and said, what is it about your style? And I said, well, I'm using Law of Connection, and which is NLP based. My book based on NLP. NLP standing for neuro, which is the brain, linguistics, which is the words, and programming, which is what we do. We program new ideas, new thoughts, new behaviors. So they said, well, can you write about that? And well, meanwhile, I've been doing seminars on this on the side. So well, by the way, my book Law of Attraction was a seminar manual that turned into a book. The same with this one. So I just polished it up and made it more dense and more examples. So the book is really based on Law of Connection. Now, is it really a law? Not really, but the publisher wanted to make it cute and call it Law of Connection. But instead of calling it Law of Connection, I wanted to call it Everyday NLP. In other words, it's stuff that you would use every day. NLP was a very large program. I think I went 8 weekends. I'm only using about 25% of it deliberately. And the stuff we're going to talk about today is the part that is deliberate, and everybody can use it in everyday NLP. Because there's stuff that you learn in NLP that you only use once a year, little techniques. This is everyday NLP. So, we were talking about the subject is on rapport. So you and I, going to networking meetings and functions, and boy, so I'm going to do a little quiz for us, Kerry, and you're going to be the answerer. Okay, here's it's about rapport. So rapport is French for staying connected with. So that's where the word comes from. So first question: how long can it take to build rapport? How long could that take?
It can be instant.
Yeah, we could hit it off right away, like you and I did, or maybe it's a couple meetings. You know, it's like, I'm going to go talk to that woman today or that guy today. You know, so the answer is it could take a minute. How long does it take to break rapport?
Less than a minute.
Yes. Lower, and lower. It takes seconds to break rapport. Yeah. And here lies within the challenge. How long does it take to repair broken rapport?
Skill testing question.
Yeah, I would say in some cases never.
Yeah.
Never. And I have an example in Victoria when probably 2003, that's 10 years ago, I was in a networking meeting and I broke rapport with the woman and she still doesn't like me. When I see her, and it's like, really? That was 10 years ago and I'm not sorry what I said. I don't even remember what I said, but whatever I said, I think I called her on her stuff, matter of fact. And so I broke rapport with her. Now, the question is, do I want to repair it? Not really. So, Kerry, give me some examples when we'd really want to pay attention to this. You know, we're business people. When is building and staying in rapport most important? Well, it's always important, but where is it triggered most important?
Well, you know, there's a couple of really good examples. One of them is as an existing client, you know, is that it's really important to stay in rapport with that existing client because, first of all, you're going to continue the ongoing relationship you have with them, but also wouldn't every person in business like to build their business based on referrals? And referrals are going to come when you are in rapport with people. They know, like, and trust you. They're going to recommend you, all of that. So that's with an existing relationship.
Yes.
In business.
And there's new ways that we're meeting people.
Absolutely.
And it's through text, and it's through email, and it's through the telephone. So I can't look at you and judge that, oh, she's this kind of person, I'm going to talk this way, or I'm going to be calm with her, I'm going to be excited. I don't have any of those cues. So we can break rapport really fast by texting and typing and emailing and maybe a phone conversation. So today, I'm going to introduce the 4 styles that, you know, how people like to receive information. And with that information, we have all 4 styles, but one of them is our favorite. One of them is our most dominant style, and then one of them is our weakest style. And it's like, oh, I never use those words. So when you meet somebody whose dominant style is your opposite style, guess what happens? Conflict.
Yeah. So
here's the 4 styles, Kerry. Some people will, one of the styles will be new to them. So visual, that means people like to see things, to understand better. Auditory people, they like to be told, they like to hear instructions. Kinesthetic people, now I have them touching hands, they like to do things, but they also like to feel things. And then the last one, which is probably new, because some people have done all of this before, right? Oh, I've heard of visual, kinesthetic, and auditory. And what's this 4th one? Well, this 4th one, people are going to be pleased because it's all you people that didn't fit the first 3 fit the 4th style. It's like, finally, a place for me. And these are the digital people. Now, digital means like a clock, like 1, 2, 3, like very synchronistic and very precise. So you'll notice I'm pointing to the brain. So these are the thinkers. Yeah. Now you're thinking, okay, I use all 4 of those. One of them's strong and one of them's weak. So here's a math question. I'm going to answer it. I want everyone to be thinking about it. So you and your partner are doing this assessment, and you can go to hangoutwithmichael.com to take the assessment. You can do the assessment, and then here's what is the probability that you and your partner will be the same style first? What do you think the answer? What is the probability in a percentage that you and your partner are the same style first? It's 25%. So I'm going to ask it in a negative way. What is the percentage that you don't match your partner or your daughter or your son or your staff or your boss? It is 75%. It's pretty high.
Yeah.
So today my goal is to teach you how to detect what people's style is, and just one word. When you use it with them, then you'll stay in rapport with them. So I'm going to give you the 4 words and the styles today. Good.
Okay.
So, so let's talk about the first style. Let's talk about the visual style. Now, these are people that, you know, they're always using words like look, see, imagine, big picture. Like these are just our vocabulary.
Yeah.
So they also have a favorite word. I'm going to tell you what that is in a second. So and people think, oh, I don't use those words. Then that means you don't process visually. Visual people, they're the kind of people that, like me, that when you want to give us instructions, I like for you to say, well, just go down to the corner store, turn left until you see the big red building. But some people say, it's on the northwest eastern corner of 57, and that just makes me dizzy. So visual people, we like to have a picture. And we often say, oh, I see what you mean. Okay, how does that look to you? Like we're always using those words. And people that are visual like us, we love it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other people that aren't visual first, like some people watching, thinking, oh, that drives me crazy. Because, you know, one time I was on a teleclass, and I asked the class, did everyone get the picture? And a woman said, did you email one? So I thought, well, that's pretty literal, right? So that meant she was visual last. So I could break rapport with her just by using all my visual words. So we're going to come back to visual and tell you what the favorite word is. The next style is auditory. Now, I always know when I have an auditory student in my seminars because I always do handouts. Every style loves handouts, but auditory people, they tend not to take notes. You know why? They remember everything. And they look me right, they just keep a real gaze and they stare and they're not taking notes. And earlier on, before I understood that, I thought, why aren't they taking notes? It's not their style. And they tend to be editors and authors and writers and singers. Like they just love words. Everything's about words for them. And that group too, you know, they'll say things like, that rings a bell. You know how rings a bell is a sound? And I'll say, so if I had an auditory client, I would say, does that ring a bell? Listen to this sentence. Is this clicking? And they'll say, oh yes, this is clicking, it's ringing a bell. And they like to use the word resonate, because resonate's a sound. So if I said to an auditory person, how does that make you feel? They wouldn't know how to answer it. And they'd have to process it, and they would come back and say, you know what, that resonates with me, because it's a sound word. I'm going to tell you their favorite word in just a moment. Our third group, these are I call them the touchy-feelies. These are the kinesthetic group. You know, they like to take their time processing things. Some of their expressions are, that fits for me, almost like it was a piece of clothing. That fits for me. You know, let's connect soon. Let's touch base. Are you grasping the material? See how grasping is about, are you grasping the material? So that's the kinesthetic group. So if I had a kinesthetic friend, they would want me to ask them, are you comfortable with this? As opposed to, how does this look? Mm-hmm. And I would say, how does this look? And they would say, oh, it's comfortable, but it would take them a few minutes. By the way, if you ask somebody a question and they're processing it, you didn't hit their style. Right. And then the last style, these are the digital, these are the thinkers. These are the logical people. They like to figure stuff out. They're great figure-outers. They like logic. They like sequence. You're thinking, wow, this is lots to remember. Not really. You don't even need to remember the style name. You just need to be listening and looking for 4 words. And I'm going to show you what they are. Write these down, everybody. The visual person, and we're going to give examples of this in a moment. The visual person, their word is look. Auditory people, their word is sound. Kinesthetic people, their word is feel, and digital is think. Put this by your telephone and paste it on your computer right up here. So, Kerry, we're going to do a little sample. I'm calling you as a potential client, and I want you to see if you can, and I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, but I want you to see if you can detect my style, and then I want you to ask me a question on my style. Good. Okay. So, hey, Kerry, you know what? I was just looking at your website, and there was lots that I saw that I really liked. It looked really, really good to me. And you know what? I see you helping me with some projects coming down, and I just wanted to take a call and see how that looks for you.
Great, Michael. I'd be happy to do that. Why don't we go to the website and we can take a look at the documents that are there?
Yes.
And
Right.
and then we can then talk, not talk, that's an
Yeah.
auditory.
Yeah, that's okay. We can get out our calendars and
Yeah, we can get out
we
our
can
calendars,
take a look
exactly.
at our calendars.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, you got it. That was very visual. Now I'm going to do an auditory call.
Okay.
Yeah. Kerry, oh, well, before we get to the story, I just want to tell you a little bit of a story. I was talking to my friend the other day, and he mentioned your name, and wow, it's like when I heard your name and I went to your website and I start reading some things out there, it really resonated with me, and you're exactly, I need to improve my business. You're exactly what I need because I saw you had other people like that. So, it sounded perfect for me, and I wanted to give you a call and introduce myself. Now, I'm talking lots and fast on purpose, so you can hear all the auditory words.
Right.
I was talking, it sounded like I overheard a conversation, I read your website. Good kinesthetic people,
Yep.
their word is feel. And they might call you and say, they'll introduce themselves, they'll talk a little personal to themselves, they love that personal conversation, and then they might say, I feel this is something that I can move forward with you. I feel this is something that we can do together, right? Can you hear all the kinestheticness? Mm-hmm. It feels like a good match. Excuse me. Good. So you're thinking, okay. So you would say, okay, well, this feels like it's good. Feels like we're going in the right direction.
Right.
Now, you'd break rapport when you said to that person, okay, so this sounds like something you'd like to do. It's like, yeah, it feels like the right thing. Sometimes people will even re-answer your question in their style.
Right. So I might even have said, so are you comfortable with moving forward?
Yeah, moving forward is very kinesthetic. It's about movement,
And comfortable. So that's sort of, okay.
And we're going to take the next step with that. And then the last style, they're the digital, they're the thinkers. Don't ask them how they feel. Don't ask them how things sound, and don't ask them what things look like. And they say, you know what, Kerry, I analyzed your website, and I saw 3 or 4 bulleted points that really made a lot of sense for me. And it made so much sense that I'd like to put a plan together and start working with you. And you wouldn't say, so how does that make you feel? I'm joking with that, but you can see how that's where rapport gets broken. Yeah. So these are the 4 key words. Now, Kerry, we're going to do another little test on this. Let's talk about, you get an email. So, Kerry, knowing the common words, tell me how somebody visual might end their email. What would be a little cutesy thing they might say?
They might say, see you soon.
See you soon. See you later.
Yeah.
And then their friend writes back, when? When are we seeing each other? We're not seeing each other, but that's how literal.
Right.
So your visual friends will say, see you later. Okay, auditory friends, how might they answer an email?
Look forward to hearing back from you.
Well, it could be, but it's got a look on there. So
I was thinking of the hearing. Might be...
nice chatting with you.
Oh, yeah, nice chatting with you. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, not nice listening. Nice chatting with you.
Chatting.
Nice talking with you. Let's chat again. Nice chat. Yeah. It's always about the chat and the talk. Good?
Right. Yeah.
Kinesthetic people. Hugs, kisses.
Yeah, it was great connecting. Hugs or kisses.
Nice connecting with you. Let's touch base again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say hello to the kids. Hugs to the husband, lots of relationship-related ending in their emails. And the digital people, these are the thinkers. It's actually just one word.
Bye.
Bye. There's no fluff. There's no see you later. It's just bye.
Right.
And sometimes it's not even bye. Sometimes it's just hang up, or sometimes the email's empty. No judgment on that, just for us to pay attention to. So let's just recap today. There's 4 different communication styles. One of them is our most dominant and most favorite, and it's the one that we use a lot. One of them is kind of our weakest one. In other words, we might not use words in that grouping at all. So when someone's coming to us and they're talking to us in a grouping that we're not, like I'm kinesthetic last. It doesn't mean I don't have feelings. It just means I need to go through a few layers to get to the answer.
Right.
Right, so you can always tell that you didn't match somebody's style is when they repeat the question, or they kind of pause a bit, thinking, and they might say this. So how do I feel about that? And then right away you say, so does that make sense? Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. In other words, you just jump to another style. Just help them out a bit.
Right.
Particularly if you're answering a new client's questions on the phone or by email or a networking meeting. And after a while, it'll become so common to you to listen. You won't even listen for the words. You'll just notice the words. Like, wow, she used 3 kinesthetic words in 2 sentences. Okay, I'm done. I know. I know how to communicate better with her.
Yeah.
And then we learned that there's 4 words, and the word that. So listen for the word. Listen for the word. That's funny. Listen for the words. Look, sound, feel, and think. They are the dead giveaways. Great. Somebody will use one of those words and thinking, Now, they might use all 4 words too. Well, that would be ideal because then you wouldn't have to figure one out. But most people have a real defined grouping of words.
Right. So, Michael, then, taking this into the business context is that it's incumbent upon us to speak to that person's language style or their style, because then that's going to immediately give us rapport and keep rapport.
That's right. Stay in rapport. Remember, you break it, it's hard to build it up again.
Right.
And as a business person, it might be time to revisit your website. And it might be time to revisit how you advertise things. Often, when I'm working with a client that's very kinesthetic, sometimes their titles are, and I call them too woo-woo, they're just too soft. And I'm thinking, that's a beautiful title if you only want kinesthetic clients.
Right.
And that might be the goal. But when you say discover your inner, I'm just trying to make something up, but something very spiritual and very deep. A digital person is not even going to read the rest of the sentence, never mind participate. So make sure you have a balance of these words on your website, in your marketing. Make sure you're crossing. Even my book, and that's again back to my book. I'll just quickly show you a couple of examples of things. Here's some examples of my book. I got little charts, right? And see how I underlined some words, so I was appeasing to the people that like that. In every chapter, I have a buddy. This is called Meet the Expert Eddie. So he's very kinesthetic because you get to know his character and follow his character through the book. I also have another character, Visual Vicky. So in other words, I could have just given the information, but I gave it character. So now it's got some kinestheticness to it, and people can relate to some of the characters. So when you're writing, make sure you tap into all the audiences. Even today, during the Hangout, I've been showing different things like that. Now, the auditory people like it. The other thing it does, it stops me from being a talking head. And this, when people are watching, as soon as I do this, it's like it changes their eyes and makes them refocus and look at stuff. So I use a lot of these, as you know, during my own show, because it's another form of using accelerated learning techniques. I mean, if I was just talking and talking and talking and talking, and then all of a sudden, I'm just talking and people aren't taking notes, or then I hold something like, I don't know, in my show I hold something like this up. Boy, that's different. And now the auditory person and the visual person are checking this out and look, it's something new to explore. So these are really great examples of using accelerated learning techniques with these 4 styles.
Right. Great. So, Michael, we talked a little bit about when you break rapport, you might never get rapport back again. Let's say it is someone that is an important relationship. What would you recommend that a person?
What I would recommend is, of course,
rapport, if it's possible.
Yeah. Well, I think what's really, some people already know their style of their husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend because they've been with them for a long time. They kind of know. But honestly, if you could have each of your partners take the assessment and find out just one word will make a difference in your relationship. So imagine you have a digital partner. One person's digital, they're the thinkers, and one person's kinesthetic. I can tell you 500 places where they're going to have problems. One of them would be, this person might say, so how do you feel about that? And the digital person doesn't want to answer it, and they can't. So I don't know, I can't, what does that mean? I'm exaggerating. I don't even know what it means to have any feelings. Like, they just don't know. So if that was your partner, you would have a much better relationship if you would say, what are your thoughts on, now my assistant Diane is digital. So I cater everything to her language. I'll say this. I'd like you, because I can't rush her with the decision. They like to process information. I know that about the style. So I would say, Diane, I'd like you to be thinking about, okay, or what are your thoughts on this? And she'll come back the next day and she'll say, I was thinking about what you asked me yesterday, and I'll get a beautiful answer, but I can't rush it. So if I'm rushing my partner or my assistant, I'm going to break rapport with them. So be deliberate about how you ask questions. Thinking, oh yeah, I got to save that for my friend Betty, who likes her and I are on the same wave, but my partner's digital, so I always have to ask him, what do you think about this, or what are your thoughts on this? Does this make sense? And I'm picking on the digitals because some people knew the other style. The digital people won't tell you what they think until you ask. So even at my seminar, I say this, okay, I'd like to hear from some other people. What are you thinking on this? And they surface. And they're always at the back of the room.
Yeah.
The kinesthetics are the visuals are in the front room because they're highly distracted. The auditories are in the second row because they don't need to see, they just need to hear. The kinesthetics are usually around the room in comforters and special chairs with a coffee mug. It's comfort. And the digitals are lined up at the back of the room and they're not asking any questions. I know I'm generalizing, and I'm right. And I'll say this, you know what are your thoughts at the back of the room? And boy, they've got great answers, but they have to be asked. So my book, in addition to talking about the 4 styles, really talks about, well, what if you got teenagers? How do you ask them different questions? What questions can I ask that'll help get answers? If you have 4 kids, they could be 4 different styles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and they're not likely to. It's less likely that they're even aware of any of this going on for them to do any adaptation or adjustment. So you're going to have. It's really incumbent upon us to be able to do that.
Yes. In the book, I give examples about assigning homework, and to a visual student, it'd be like, I see you getting this done just within a half hour, because visual people like short time, and it's like I think I can see you getting this done like in a half hour. It's like, really? Okay, something like that. Or an auditory, you would just cater the question differently, or not, depending on your mood.
Yeah. I'm very clear that my son is not an auditory. Don't know yet what the others are, so I'm leaving my task now to figure that out, because when I give him auditory instructions, he never remembers them. Yeah. So this obviously has such huge applications in a personal life in addition to a business life as well.
Yeah. I know a friend of mine whose husband is auditory. Now, if you're auditory, you probably know that you do this already, but one of their most common expressions is, sounds good. So my friend went to her husband in the beginning of the day and said, you know what, I'd love for us to go for dinner or to a movie or whatever it was, and he said, wow, that sounds like a good idea. So that night she's getting ready, and she said, well, aren't you getting ready? He said, what for? He said, well, we're going to the movie. And he said, no, we're not. And he said, well, you said it sounded like a good idea. And he said, yeah, it sounded like a good idea. So I had to train them for whenever he says, because you can't train them not to say it. It's like his language. So he said, it sounds like a good idea. Now she says, does that mean we're doing it? And he'll say, no, just sounds like I've saved a relationship because, or sometimes he'll say, yeah, that means yes. So she just gets a little more clear. So I've saved a relationship by helping them when they say it sounds like a good idea, double check with them.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, excellent. So, Michael, in closing, as we're coming to our time here, any last final tips on this topic that we could come back and revisit again a couple of times, I'm sure? What could you leave my audience today?
Well, they could go to hangoutwithmichael.com, and on that page they can go to the forum to fill out the assessment, and then they'll really know. And then just be curious about it. This isn't about trying to fix your style. It's about trying to embrace your style. It's like some people, when they learn, it's like, that's why I do that. Okay, I'm not apologizing for that anymore. That's my style, right? So people are starting to own their style. We can't be all 4 styles. You can have a balance of them, but there's just one that peaks its head a little bit more. So you need to embrace your style and have fun with it. Yeah,
excellent. That's great. All right. Well, thank you again, Michael. And for those of you who would like to see other episodes that I have of Hangout with Coach Kerry, you can go to hangoutwithcoachkerry.com. Kerry spelled Kerry. There's lots of great tips and resources that are there. You can also find me on Google Plus and my Google Plus community, Kerry Brown Small Business Community. Come join me there and we can spend some time helping you be more successful in business. So thanks again, Michael, and I look forward to our next interview. Thank you.
Thank you.